Hello, my name is Chelsea Byler. You may know me online as Chelsea Lineev, and I am going to be doing my very first sketch blog today. So I am actually drawing one of my characters that was made for me by a friend. I'm feeling in a very Halloweenish mood. I know that October is still a month away, but I decided that I was very interested in drawing one of my werewolf characters. Her name is Pumpkin. She's very cute. So I wanted to take some time to talk about a couple of things that have been going on recently, because my life has been full of exciting things recently. I recently got a internship at the Milwaukee Public Museum, and I've been working on that. I'm nearly finished up with it. I'm officially finished, but there are still some extra little things that need to get tied up. And then I also just got my first job, my first job in my field, I guess you could say, for regular income. And that's going to be at an art gallery in the area, and I'm really excited because it's the first time that I will be kind of relying on income for something that I actually went to school for, more or less. So I'm really excited about both of those things, and I wanted to actually talk about the scientific illustration internship that I had at the Milwaukee Public Museum, because that's something that I've gotten an ask about on Tumblr, and I'm really sorry. It's been a long time that's been sitting in my inbox unanswered, so I feel really bad about that, but my life has been a little wild lately, and I truly apologize for it. So I got a question from Heartbeats and Art, and they wanted to ask what I was doing at the museum and what sort of work I did for the application for the internship. And I kind of have to head this off by saying I didn't really do anything for that internship specifically. I kind of had that dropped in my lap and I didn't have any time to prepare anything for the internship. I've always been interested in scientific illustration as something that I could potentially do as a career in the future, and I wanted to learn more about it, but I wasn't heading specifically for that when I got out of school. I finished school at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design in 2014, in May of 2014. And so I've kind of been just trying to figure things out on my own since then. I hadn't really found anything in my field until I got an email about that internship. And I did take a scientific illustration course in college, but I felt like it was really lacking. So the big purpose of taking that internship really was just to get some experience and to treat it more or less as a course that I didn't have to pay for. So in that respect, I'm really glad that I took it, because that was something that I definitely wanted to learn, and I didn't feel like I learned adequately in school. So like I said, it was not really something that I was going for, but it was an opportunity that kind of got tossed into my lap, and I was really excited about it when I heard about it, but I also felt a little overwhelmed because I've never really done anything related to scientific illustration or hadn't done anything before that point. So the majority of things in my portfolio were school projects. I had a few things that I felt were similar to what would be asked of me as a scientific illustrator, but nothing that was specifically geared in that direction. The best thing that I showed them was like a very detailed ink drawing that had a lot of different things going on in it. But other than that, it was mostly, what you can see on my blog from day to day. More or less things like this that are digitally illustrated, that are a little bit more stylistic and not quite realistic. So I brought that up front when I sent the email, was like, hey, just to let you know, I don't really have that much experience in scientific illustration, but I'm willing to learn. I know it would be expected of me, and I think that it's something that I want to pursue. And I think that being upfront in that was a very good thing in the long run, because it kind of let people know ahead of time that I understood my portfolio wasn't really up for it, and I was willing to work on it and willing to learn. Which, honestly, I believe that's what an internship is for, especially, if it's one that you're taking during school. I didn't take this one during school, but if you are taking an internship during school, it almost serves as a course for you. So you should be learning during it. You can have a basic understanding of what's going to happen in that course, but you should really be getting something out of it. And so I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong in not having a portfolio that's totally catered to the internship that you're going for, because, to be honest, I didn't. And the skill that was shown in my portfolio was still enough to convince them that I knew what I was doing and that I was up for the challenge. That being said, if you know that scientific illustration is something that you want to do and you really want to get into it, that's fantastic. I mean, the sooner you know kind of what direction you want to go in, the sooner you can get started on it, and that's going to help you out immensely in the long run. So I would say if you're looking for things to put into your portfolio in preparation to do scientific illustration work, I just say go ahead and start learning. And that's something that I understand it's a little bit hard to get into the scientific portion of it if you don't have the correct tools, but you can still really get into the technical portion of it, using line work and, getting accurate proportions and really making sure that the rendition that you're making of this object, this natural object, is going to be as accurate and as clear as possible, because those are really the big things behind scientific illustration. You want it to be accurate, you want it to be absolutely scientifically valid, but you also want it to be clear. So sometimes that means cutting out details that you would see in real life, so that you can read more clearly. For example, there were a couple of times during the illustration internship, I was doing a scientific illustration of a bamboo. There were a couple of times where the specimen I was looking at had things that were in the way, or they had things that just weren't relevant to what was happening in the illustration, and I had to sort of mentally cut out those portions of the plant specimen in order to convey it in a better way for the people who would be viewing it. It depends on your audience. And if your audience is going to be a scientist who's looking for specific features of what you're drawing, that's really what you're trying to get at. So pretend that you have an audience. Perhaps you have a tree or a leaf, and the audience is going to be a scientist who is trying to identify this species compared to other species. So make that your target. What is going to stand out in your illustration that makes it obvious what those significant traits are of the species? And that's really the best place to get started. I'd also, like I said before, line work is going to be really important. You can do line work either traditionally or digitally. The field is kind of going in both directions at the same time. Traditional is always great, and you can get some really fantastic renderings with traditional work, but digital work is being used mainly because it's just so versatile. It's really easy to work with digital pieces and be able to kind of fix up things that might be wrong. For example, I did my final piece digitally, and I brought it in sort of for a final go-over of it, and there were a lot of things that we decided needed to get changed just because they didn't shrink down correctly, or there was something that we missed that needed to be adjusted, and there was, it's going to be really easy for me to go back in there digitally and finish that up. So long as you're up for the, so long as you're up for the challenge of learning how to ink digitally, it's going to be really useful for you in the future, because it really cuts out a lot of that work in editing any of your illustrations that might need editing. So I would suggest trying both, deciding which one is best for you. There are also some other traditional mediums that tend to work really well in scientific illustration. Gouache and watercolor, I believe, are pretty big in the field. You can pretty much use any medium that you want to, so long as you can still make it clear and accurate. Again, those are the biggest things in doing scientific illustrations, is making sure that they depict what they're supposed to in a way that's going to be easy to read. So long as you can pull that off, you can use whatever mediums you'd like to build things for your portfolio. Just kind of keep in mind what the goal is for those pieces as you're working on them. I guess that's pretty much what I have for you. I'd say, also make sure that if you know that you're going to be going into scientific illustration and that's really what you want to do with your life, definitely make sure that you take biology courses. And I'm going to stress this a lot because it's incredibly useful. I went into the illustration internship not knowing anything about plants or grasses or bamboos. I know the basic processes and photosynthesis and everything, but I had to learn a lot really quickly about how bamboos work, and in order to do that, I needed to really have a good grasp of how to learn scientific concepts and how to kind of wrap my head around that. And I honestly feel that if I hadn't taken a lot of biology courses in college, I would have been sort of at a loss there. So I definitely recommend taking biology courses, because they're going to help you immensely if you go into the field of scientific illustration. Even if you're not taking the course for whatever you end up specializing in, I still don't know what I plan on specializing in, if I plan on doing that at all. I really like birds, but I am fascinated by anything in particular, and I don't feel like I need to specialize just yet, and I'll kind of find out where life takes me at this point. But if there's something that you want to specialize in, absolutely go for it and take some courses in that in particular. Research on your own and do whatever you can to sort of build up that mental library of terms and ideas and things, so that you can bring them up later in your illustration. You really cannot draw what you don't understand, and it's so helpful even just to be able to learn how to learn scientific concepts, because that's going to take you so far when you're learning how to draw the different things you're looking at. Looking under a binocular microscope, I would not have known half of the things that were going on in this bundle of really messy, branches and leaves and stem and everything that was going on. It wasn't until I took a crash course in the morphology of grasses that I could really grasp what I was drawing and how to depict it best. So that's going to be the big thing that I sort of push here, is make sure that you do take those courses and make sure that you have a solid foundation in biology, even if it's just to learn how to learn about scientific concepts, because that's going to help you out immensely in the future. And then also, that's just something that's really going to help you outside of your work as well, because if you're going into scientific illustration, I know already that the natural world fascinates you. That's sort of a given when you decide that that's something that you want to do with your career. So biology is already a great fit for you, even if you're not interested in, organic chemistry or anything like that. Even just learning about ecology and evolution and, ornithology and invertebrate zoology and whatever it may be that you're interested in, it's going to be fascinating for you, and it's going to enhance your love of the natural world even more. So it's sort of a win-win situation in that you're going to learn more about science, and the more you learn about science, the more you want to draw about it, and the more you learn about science, also the better you can draw it. So it's going to be great both ways. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any further questions, or if anyone has questions about what I'm working on or my work with the museum or anything, I would absolutely love to do another one of these. This was a whole lot of fun, and I'm really excited to see what sort of response it gets. So thank you again for coming in and watching me draw for nearly 15 minutes. I really appreciate it. If you're going to try to find my work, if you're new to my work, I use the same handle on Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and I try to keep them updated, but again, my life is a little bit crazy, so I'm sorry if I don't get to them very often. But that is Chelsea Lineyev, and I will add links to that in the end of this video. I'll add some annotations to that. So if you are trying to find my work, definitely visit me on those sites. And again, let me know what you think and what you'd like to know more about, because I'm definitely up to answering some questions or just kind of talking about what I'm doing in general. So thanks again, guys. I had a blast, and I wish you all the best with everything that you're doing in life. Thank you.